welcome to another video in our c6 mini repertoire against London. So d4, knight f6, bishop f4, and now on the second move as black we play c7, c6, and today we're going to take a look at what happens if white plays c2 to c3. I've had some problems with this. I even lost a classical game a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, my level of play was pretty bad, but still I decided to go back to the drawing board and see if there wasn't a better approach to this. You see in the game I played queen to b6, but after queen b3, so well, the problem is that white can oppose us with queen b3, and it's still okay, but that game didn't go in a nice direction for me, and I decided I wanted to see if there was nothing better to do. So I'm going to give you two possibilities. So I think the best thing to do here is to go for either d7, d6, or to go for d7, d5. So let's say you play d7, d5, then after e3. The problem for white starting with c3 is that he is slow getting this dark shot bishop out, which means that we can put our own bishop. And now this square here on d3, well, we control it. So and if white decides to play bishop d3, we just exchange it and we get a pretty nice position. And let's say if white tries something like knight d2, then we just bring this knight here. So in the game I lost, I did notice that it was very important to actually leave this d7 square here for the knight, because, well, there is no better square to develop it, and if you can start with it, you can start with knight e7, but at some point you also will have to develop this bishop. So it makes sense to get the bishop out first, and then this square will be nice and free for your knights. So let's say knight e2, knight e7, knight f3, and if you see knight f3, then because white can maybe go knight h4, similar to our own idea, if we see that, we can make a little air hole on h7. So that after knight h4 we can just retreat the bishop back to h7. After queen b3, targeting this pawn here, so that's actually similar ideas than us. Obviously c7 isn't available anymore since there is this bishop here, so queen c8, after something like c4, e6. Whenever you see c5 you push b6, and well, most of the time anyway, and after something like this you can press with c5, and here I'm going to give you some example lines. Here it's actually okay. I would be very careful pushing c4, but here it's actually okay, since well, we are fully developed and we are pretty quick on the queen side with our play, and we can also push this b pawn forward. So let's say yeah, let's say queen c3 for example. Then after the knight to c6 we are already threatening bishop b4. After something like this, so when you have this pawn chain, always be aware of any e4 pushes. But here, since we are so quick, it's okay for us. since here our push of the big pawn comes very fast. And let's say after this, black is just, yeah, has a fantastic position. So let's go back a bit. So d5 is fine here, and I think objectively, if you would put on the engine evaluation, it would also be the best move. I mean, it takes the center, it fights against these bricks c4 and e4. The bishop can get out, so what's not to like about that move? But I think I would recommend this move d7, d6 actually, since there's some pretty interesting stuff going on. So let's see if white plays the strongest move, which is queen c2. Then we actually have a very interesting move in the shape of queen to a5. Very nice symmetrical pattern where we can go for e5 and you can see that these pieces all line up nicely. For example, after knight f3, you can play bishop to f5, hitting this queen. And after queen to b3, actually you don't need to defend this pawn at the moment. Knight d7 is a nice try. So here we're doing something similar as white does in some lines. We're letting him take the b pawn. And we are claiming that after rook to b8 and queen to c6, we can actually, well, not claiming, it's just like that. It's just like that. So after rook to b1, we have a very nice double attack in the form of queen f5. And white will have to lose probably the bishop after knight d2, queen to f4. Well, something like this could happen, and we force the trade of queens, and this is still a fight, but because as black you will have to stop these three passed pawns. But let's say if white makes a mistake, for example, like this, you can already strike. So so this is an example where the engine says black is clearly better and winning actually, but as a human it will take a lot of focus and accurate play to actually stop these pawns. Luckily they aren't too far advanced yet, so you can still attack them, target them, block them. So let's go back a bit. What did we have? Right, queen a5. So after queen c2, queen a5, and let's say e4. Well, then let's think for a bit. e4. There was something wrong with this. So sorry, excuse me. There isn't anything wrong with it. It's just that now we can play e5, so we can counter in the center. Most people will take, and after, let's say, bishop g5, we defend the knight. We don't want white taking on f6 and doubling our pawns. After this, we can chase the bishop to h4. Here knight d2 will probably happen, and then our queen will have to drop back anyway. So here we can just do some prophylaxis and bring it to c7. Knight to d2, knight to d7, bishop e2, castles, castles. And here we can again go after this dark squared bishop with g5, knight h5, if knight c4, putting some pressure here on this e5 pawn. We want to, but we also kind of have to eliminate this bishop on g3. And here, well, it's a pretty good position for black. I mean, black isn't in any trouble here, and yeah, should be a good position for you. Let's see then. Okay, so that was queen to c2. After d6, let's see what happens after the most popular move, e3. Then we can again claim this diagonal, and well, white can't put his bishop on d3 anymore. Well, he can, but we just trade it off immediately. So let's say knight d2. Then we can play something like a5. Why? Well, a5 is often a useful move just to prevent some queenside expansion from white and claim some space in the center. Also, I guess it's not that important at the moment, but I guess now knight a6 jumps might be available and interesting at some times. So let's say knight d7, knight f3, a6 again. White is targeting this, so we are getting the bishop, the dark square bishop here, and after d5 now. This is pretty good for black as well. Well, let's see it. Let's run it through again to see what. Well, it's equal, but I think after the opening phase against the annoying London system, I think we can take it. Knight to d2. Guessing we can also play bishop to f5 and play should be pretty similar. Knight f3, again h6. We want to be able to escape to here, and this is, I think, pretty similar, although we don't have to go to c8 now. We can actually go to c7 and strike with e5. So yeah, that's also a line. Finally, let's see one independent idea white might have by playing knight f3 first. So bishop f5, and here knight h4 might be the idea, similar to us, to attack this bishop. Here I recommend to drop your bishop back to c8 for the moment, and after e3 to get our fianchetto set up with the bishop on g7. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with these arrows. On g7, and let's say h3 at some point. So knight d7. We can play e5. So after bishop d3, for example, here castles with a good position for black. So that was all for today's video. Let's quickly recap. So after d4, knight 6, bishop f4, we play c6, and after the move c3, we are not playing queen b6. we are playing, well, d5 is an option, but I recommend you to play d6, controlling this square, making sure that this bishop can get out. White is too slow for e3, bishop d3. We are here first, and after e3, bishop f5, as you can see, white might try knight e2 to press e4 at a4 at a time. Here we can play a5 to limit white's chances on the queen side. Knight d7, so knight d7 is always a useful move. We want to prepare e5. We still, as in some cases, want to try and trap this bishop. But the nice thing about knight d7 and e5 is that e5 also comes with a nice little tempo on the bishop. And after knight f3, white has the same idea as us, which means we make a little air hole. And after a few more moves, we can, especially if white has castled, we can try to trap this guy. Since there is no more rook h1 nonsense. And I think if white plays queen c2, we bring our queen out to a5, preparing some e5 IDs, and here we can attack this queen, and here we can entice white to take the pawn, but then we have a double attack here against these two pieces. It's a little trap. The point is not the trap, but well, why not take advantage of these kind of tactics if we have the position anyway. So that's why we leave the pawn hanging just for the moment. So let's see, queen c2, queen a5, and if e4, we also go e5, because the queen here is also supporting this pawn break. And right, so knight e2, knight c4 or b3 is going. That's why it's a little prophylaxis against that. Finally, let's see if I missed something. Yeah, the last move. So d6, knight f3. Here white can try a similar idea as we have in a lot of lines, but here we drop the bishop to c8, and after e3 we build the fianchetto setup, which after this e5 push should give us a comfortable game. So this was it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, subscribe, or leave a comment, and I will see you maybe in one of the next ones.